Good morning to our esteemed panel of evaluators, executive management, and key stakeholders. Welcome to our formal security audit defense. Today, we are presenting the comprehensive cyber risk management plan, meticulously designed, executed, and compiled by our specialized internal security division, Audit Ops. Before we dive into the technical architecture, threat matrices, and mitigation strategies, it is important to introduce the core auditing team responsible for this massive undertaking. Conducting an enterprise-wide security audit requires a diverse set of analytical skills, and this assessment was collaboratively executed by a team of dedicated security professionals. Leading the audit framework and overseeing our strategic direction is our lead auditor, Sahim Maizan. The comprehensive execution of the technical assessments, asset mapping, and vulnerability scanning was carried out by our highly capable assistant auditors, Irfan Danish, Danish Arif, and Daniel Norizan. Over the next 40 minutes, we will walk you through a complete end-to-end cyber risk lifecycle. We are not merely going to read off a list of problems. Instead, we will explore exactly how we established the context of the target organization, how we systematically identified and mathematically scored their most critical vulnerabilities, and ultimately, how we developed a robust, ISO-compliant treatment plan to harden their digital perimeter against modern cyber threats. Let us begin. To properly secure an organization, an auditor must first understand exactly how it operates. Security does not exist in a vacuum. It exists to support the business. Let us establish the background and operational context of our audited entity, which we refer to as My Company. My Company is a large-scale multinational organization operating a highly complex distributed network infrastructure. In today's corporate landscape, the concept of a traditional walled-off office network no longer exists. My Company operates a fluid, hybrid workforce. This means their infrastructure consists of internal office users sitting securely behind physical corporate firewalls, working alongside hundreds of remote employees connecting from various external, often unsecured home locations. Furthermore, the organization hosts public-facing demilitarized zone, or DMZ services, dedicated virtual private network, or VPN connectivity, highly sensitive database servers, and various internet-facing applications that must remain operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because of this massive expanded attack surface, our objective for this assessment was critical and twofold. First, to objectively and systematically identify the cybersecurity risks actively threatening this environment. Second, to recommend appropriate, cost-effective security controls. To ensure our findings hold up to international scrutiny and regulatory standards, our entire auditing process is anchored to the global gold standards of information security, the ISO to IEC 27005 standard for risk management lifecycles, and the ISO to IEC 27002 standard for specific security control implementations. You cannot protect what you do not properly define. Before identifying specific threats, Audit Ops established a strict, comprehensive boundary around our audit scope. As depicted on the screen, our assessment encompassed the entirety of My Company's technical ecosystem. We left no stone unturned. We began by evaluating the internal network backbone. This focused heavily on the structural integrity of the main corporate firewall and the core routing switches that direct internal traffic across the organization. Next, we focused our attention on the DMZ. The DMZ is arguably the most targeted segment of any corporate network because it is intentionally exposed to the open internet to serve customers. Within this zone, our scope covered the public-facing web server, the internal application server that processes critical business logic, and the centralized storage server that holds the company's data repositories. Beyond the central servers, our scope extended out to the very edge of the network. We rigorously audited the VPN gateway, which acts as the front door for all remote work. We audited the internal wireless network handling mobile office traffic. And finally, we audited the employee endpoints themselves. This is a critical inclusion because a multi-million-dollar corporate network is ultimately only as secure as the cheapest laptop or mobile device connecting to it. With our scope clearly defined, we entered the risk identification phase to identify the organization's critical assets and the cyber threats targeting them. Following ISO to IEC 27005, this process helps determine what needs protection and the potential risks to business operations. We divided the assets into hardware and software. The hardware assets include the corporate firewall, core router, core switch, Wi-Fi router, web server, application server, storage server, employee laptops, desktop PCs, mobile devices, network printers, and IP phones. These devices support daily operations and must be protected to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The software inventory includes Windows Server 2019, Ubuntu Server 22.04, CentOS 7, Windows 11 Pro, Windows 10 Pro, VPN services, web applications, database management systems, web browsers, and endpoint protection software. These systems support business services and manage important organizational data. Next, we identified the major cyber threats affecting these assets. They include phishing, which targets employees to steal credentials, SQL injection, which exploits web application weaknesses, DDoS attacks, which disrupt network availability, ransomware, which encrypts critical files, and malware, which infects employee devices. Additional threats include brute force attacks against VPN accounts, data exfiltration involving unauthorized theft of sensitive information, insider threats from employees or contractors, man-in-the-middle attacks that intercept wireless traffic, and firewall misconfiguration, which exposes internal systems to external attackers. By identifying both assets and threats, my company establishes a strong foundation for vulnerability assessment, risk analysis, and risk treatment, enabling the organization to prioritize security risks and implement effective controls. Identifying threats alone is not enough. We must measure their severity to determine which risks require immediate attention. This brings us to the risk analysis phase. Following ISO to IEC 27005, our team used a quantitative risk assessment approach to evaluate each identified risk objectively. Instead of relying on assumptions or personal judgment, every risk was assessed using two factors: likelihood and impact. Both factors were scored on a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 represents low probability or minor impact, and 5 represents very high probability or severe business impact. The final risk score was calculated using the formula: risk score equal likelihood times impact. This approach provides a consistent and measurable way to prioritize cybersecurity risks. The resulting scores were grouped into 5 risk levels. Scores of 1-5 are classified as very low risk. representing threats with minimal business impact that require routine monitoring. Scores of 610 are low risk, involving limited threats that can be managed through normal security controls. Scores of 1115 are considered medium risk and require planned mitigation within a reasonable time frame. An example is a man-in-the-middle attack on the wireless network. Scores of 1620 fall under high risk, indicating serious threats that require immediate management attention. For example, a DDoS attack against the organization's web server could disrupt online services and business operations. Finally, scores of 2125 are classified as critical risk. These risks pose the greatest danger to the organization and require urgent remediation. Examples include remote code execution vulnerabilities or successful attacks that allow unauthorized access to critical systems and sensitive data. Using this structured risk analysis enables my company to prioritize resources, focus on the highest risks first, and support informed cybersecurity decisions. With the risk scores calculated, we proceeded to the risk evaluation phase. This phase compares identified risks against the organization's risk acceptance criteria to determine which require immediate treatment. Following ISO to IEC 27005, each risk was evaluated based on 3 factors: final risk score, potential business impact, and likelihood of successful exploitation. From this assessment, we identified the top 5 priority risks that require immediate attention. The first priority is ransomware propagation. Although rated high rather than critical, it is ranked first due to its severe business impact. A ransomware attack can spread across internal systems, encrypt critical servers, and disrupt operations, leading to major financial loss and downtime. The second priority is phishing attacks. Employees are a major vulnerability, as attackers use deceptive emails to steal credentials. Successful phishing often serves as the entry point for more serious cyber incidents. The third priority is compromised VPN access. Stolen credentials from phishing or other methods may allow attackers to access the corporate VPN as legitimate users, making detection difficult and enabling internal network access. The fourth priority is SQL injection. Weak input validation in web applications can allow attackers to manipulate database queries, potentially exposing sensitive customer data and violating data protection requirements. The fifth priority is data exfiltration. After gaining access, attackers may secretly extract confidential data. Without strong monitoring or data loss prevention controls, these activities may go unnoticed until significant damage occurs. By prioritizing these risks, my company can focus resources on the most critical threats and improve its overall cybersecurity posture. A risk assessment is incomplete without a treatment plan. Following the risk evaluation phase, identified risks were treated based on the organization's risk appetite, business impact, and operational priorities. Audit Ops adopted a hybrid risk treatment strategy to reduce cyber risks while maintaining business continuity. The approach prioritizes critical and high risks, aligns with compliance requirements, and emphasizes cost-effective controls within budget limits. According to ISO to IEC 27005, risk treatment options are used: avoid, which removes the risk by eliminating the asset or service; reduced mitigate, which applies preventive, detective, and corrective controls to lower likelihood or impact; transfer, which shifts risk to third parties such as cloud providers or insurers; and accept, where low risks are retained when mitigation cost outweighs benefit. In this assessment, a reduced strategy was applied to most high-impact threats, including phishing, ransomware, SQL injection, VPN compromise, data exfiltration, firewall misconfigurations, and malware. For DDoS attacks, a combined reduce and transfer strategy was used through external mitigation services that offload traffic and reduce impact. Low residual risks were formally accepted. Key controls include ransomware mitigation using endpoint detection and response (EDR) with immutable backups, phishing protection via hardware-based multi-factor authentication (MFA), and security awareness training, SQL injection prevention through secure coding practices and a web application firewall (WAF), VPN security using MFA, and network access control (NAC) for device verification, and data exfiltration control using data loss prevention (DLP), integrated with centralized SIEM monitoring. These controls ensure risks are reduced to acceptable levels while maintaining operational efficiency and resilience. To ensure that our treatment plan is legally defensible and structurally sound for future audits, we performed a strict compliance mapping. Every control Audit Ops recommended is directly mapped to a specific clause within the ISO to IEC 27002 Information Security Framework. Our defenses against phishing map directly to Clause 8.5, which governs secure authentication requirements across the enterprise. Our mandates to fix SQL injections map directly to Clause 8.28, which dictates secure coding practices for all internal development teams. Our VPN lockdown strategies fulfill the strict requirements of Clause 8.20, governing network security and remote access. Our ransomware defense strategy strictly adheres to Clause 8.13, which sets the global standard for information backup procedures and disaster recovery. And finally, our data exfiltration monitoring systems fulfill the mandates of Clause 8.12, specifically designed for data leakage prevention. After deploying these heavy controls, we recalculated the risk scores. This brings us to the final operational phase of our audit, the Risk Acceptance Framework. Following the implementation of our risk treatment strategies, a residual risk assessment was conducted to determine whether the remaining leftover risks fell within the organization's acceptable risk tolerance. Our acceptance decisions deeply considered the operational impact on the staff, the implementation cost for the business, and overall business continuity requirements. We formally advised management to accept 3 residual risks. VoIP eavesdropping. This carries a very low likelihood and limited business impact. Ripping out the entire internal phone system is far too expensive. The existing encryption and network VLAN controls provide sufficient protection. Insider misuse of IoT devices. Office printers and smart devices will be controlled through simple access restrictions and periodic password reviews, rather than expensive enterprise licensing. Continuous monitoring is maintained. Low-impact wireless threats. The existing WPA3 encryption already reduces the likelihood of local wireless sniffing to an acceptable level. We accept these risks to ensure the IT budget is preserved and spent where it matters most, protecting the core data. In conclusion, the Cyber Risk Management Plan developed by Audit Ops successfully identified, analyzed, evaluated, and treated the critical cybersecurity risks threatening my company's network environment. Using the ISO to IEC 27005 standard, enabled a highly systematic, mathematical approach to risk management, while ISO to IEC 27002 provided the appropriate, globally recognized security controls required to drastically reduce organizational risk. The recommendations we have proposed today will permanently strengthen the organization's confidentiality, integrity, and availability for years to come. This concludes our formal security audit defense. On behalf of the entire Audit Ops team, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration today.